to the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Patty, you take roll call, please.
Here.
Jeff.
Here.
Ray.
Here.
Don.
Here.
Todd.
Here. Good afternoon, everyone. I do want to remind the commissioners to make sure the mics are on. I did have a request from a citizen yesterday to make sure the commissioners speaking in the microphone so they can hear us in the audience and also on the recording. So if we can all just accommodate that. I know my hearing's not the best anymore, so maybe I might be one of those soon to be. I want to welcome everyone here today, the guests, visitors, media. I do want to remind you, if you do have a cell phone, please put it on silent or mute so we don't interrupt anyone speaking today. Is there any reason on any agenda item today to abstain from the commissioners based on a financial conflict of interest?
No.
I have none.
Nil.
I don't either. How about any non-financial conflicts of interest?
No.
I have none.
All right. Any additions or changes for today's agenda? Hearing none, I entertain a motion to approve today's agenda.
I was going to just mention a few things from the maintenance side for the building.
So you want to?
Just add that on there. Real brief, very brief.
I do want to add, Brad, and for the work comp fund, to give a plaque to the board. There's no motion or anything, so they just.
Okay. Okay. Any other additions to changes to the agenda today? Hearing none, all those, I take a motion to approve the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the amended agenda.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second that.
A motion is second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from the October 2nd meeting?
Move approval of the minutes.
Well, there's a few changes on there first.
Okay.
I did note a couple things. I've showed it to Patty on page 5 as just some grammatical issues, just a spelling on a word on the top of page 5, and then also in the second paragraph under maintenance, there should be the word road in between the and is on this at the second sentence on the second line. Any other additions or corrections to the agenda?
To the minutes.
I'm sorry, to the minutes. Thank you, Don. Yep.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
We have
Which
a
ones? October.
October
2nd.
2nd.
We have a motion to approve as amended for October 2nd. Is there a second?
Second that too.
Ray, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I need a motion to, on the October 9th meeting, unless there's some corrections or changes.
I move to approve the October 9th minutes.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. First item on the agenda today will be the claims. Has everyone had a chance to review the claims today? And are there any questions on today's claims? Looks like we're starting to receive some bills from the highway department on the bridge repairs. I noticed bigger dollar figures,
Yeah.
which I'll definitely touch on later on in the meeting. If there's no questions on the claims, I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve the claims.
We have a
Second.
motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, what you sent me, Patty, today in the email. Is that part of this?
No.
That's not, that's coming
It's
up
the-
later? Okay.
That'll be.
With the Dakota Plains and the budget?
Yeah, that'll be
Okay.
in a couple items.
Okay, thank you.
That's at a scheduled time, so that has to.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is the budgeted cash transfer. Patty.
And I just need a motion to, a budgeted cash transfer to the highway department. It is in the budget as a cash transfer, so it is there, so it is nothing extra.
Move approval of the transfer.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion.
Yeah, you know, that was sent today to me. I never had time to go over it. I just wonder why it got sent so late.
Actually, this one is actually in your packet that was available.
That was just, I just sent an explanation for it.
Okay, that's what you sent right here. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay. That was what you sent this morning.
but it was in the paper was in the packet.
Yep, it broke down the packet.
That was the 208,000, the 1,400,000, the 125,000, and the 140,000. Is that correct?
We're only talking about the highway department right now.
Oh, we're not there yet. Okay.
So when we budgeted, how the budget works is you budget for it, you have to have budget and cash. And Patty, if I'm explaining this incorrectly, please correct me on it. We budgeted for the projects, the cash hasn't come in yet, so right now we're covering that cash, so to do the repairs, to pay
Well,
for
we're
it.
supplementing the highway department, and it's in the budget, and you approved it, and that's what that is.
These are all budgeted repairs.
He doesn't get enough revenue in, so we have to have the general fund money to,
But we're not to this part where you sent me today, right?
this is a part of it.
Part of it? Okay.
Just the highway part of it.
Okay.
The
Well, it's just a lot.
1,400,000.
Yeah, it's just a lot of money, so just want to make sure we're on the right page.
Any other discussion on the budgeted cash transfer? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
I oppose.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the next meeting, the next meeting. I think we originally scheduled it for the Wednesday for November 7th, but Patty and I were having a discussion in regards to, they're gonna have to canvass the balance anyway, and instead of having two meetings, one for normal business and then one to canvass the ballots, like we did on the primary, we just combined it into one meeting on that Thursday, November 8th, since the election is on Tuesday or normal time. Do you need a motion on that?
Yes.
I move we move our meeting from the 7th of November to the 8th of November.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Ray, discussion. There's no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is the consent agenda. Remind all the commissioners that the items that are in the consent agenda, if you have questions on any of those items, we can move it out of the consent agenda and have it as a standalone topic. Is there any items that we need to pull from the consent agenda? Those include department reports from the ambulance department, auditor treasurer report, mental illness report, the pooled cash report, register of deeds, the sheriff's office, veteran service office, welfare, and there's also a plat for Bay Cliff Properties LLC. Do we need to pull any items out of the consent agenda? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
I have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is budget supplements, and this is probably going to that email you're talking about, Gary, to a little more clarification.
Yeah.
This is also in our packets. Patty, you want to touch on the jail building one first?
The jail building, there is no budget for that. We don't budget for that. There is cash in there, because that is from the 25% that you take from the sheriff.
So it's that capital,
holds and
Capital
the
improvements.
capital
The jail
improvements on the
building.
jail out of
Yes.
jail revenue.
That's
So we
the,
have,
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So we have to supplement the budget because we do not budget for that.
That's the
Is there-
177,000. Sorry.
Because there's, you don't know if you're gonna spend any dollars throughout the year, so you don't have to budget. But when we do, we have to supplement, we have to have budget to spend the dollars.
So we're making it a round figure, is that correct? 178,000?
Correct.
Gary, do you have a question?
Yeah, so that's the 177,540.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And that's for what was approved back in August to purchase a
Washing
commercial grade wash machine and upgrade the security system in the jail. Again, this is money that we set aside from all the revenue for housing the federal inmates to take care of those, which does not come out of general fund or tax dollars. Any questions on the jail? Patty, do you mean separate motions?
No, you can do it, but we'll separate, we'll mention both amounts.
And then secondly is the Dakota Plains Ag Center's budget supplement. And let's clarify that a little bit, Patty.
The DOT loan is due November 1st, and we have received taxes in the amount of $125,368.63, and an invoice was sent to Dakota Plains, in which I received the check today for the $208,981.37.
So in other words, this is to pay on the loan for the road out to Napa Junction. As agreed upon in the contractual agreement with Dakota Plains, if the property taxes don't meet the amount of the loan, Dakota Plains will pay out of their pocket extra. So what we're doing is we're actually transferring the money that Dakota Plains paid so we can put it in the budget, correct? And that amount was $208,981.37.
Yes.
Any questions on the jail building or Dakota Plains budget supplement? Hearing none, I entertain a motion to include the dollar figures on both.
Mr. Chairman, I approve, or make a recommendation to approve the transfer budget supplement of $178,000 for the jail and $208,981.37 for Dakota Plains Ag for the
Good.
payment of the Department of Transportation
Loan.
loan.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I oppose.
Motion carries. Next. Sure, we're 2 minutes ahead of schedule.
That's about all I need, so we'll keep you on.
Jen, is it all right if we take a couple seconds here? Brad, the podium is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Brad Wilson. I'm the administrator for the STML Workers' Compensation Fund, and I'm here with Roger Smith from Smith Insurance. The reason for my visit today is that as a group, the STML Work Comp Fund, we're celebrating our 30-year anniversary. We're endorsed by the South Dakota Association of County Commissioners, and we provide work comp coverage to 493 public entities in the state. 30 years ago, our first year, we started out with 52 members. Now, again, as I said, we fast forward now, we're at 493, of which Yankton County has been a 10-year member. And so the reason for my visit is to present a plaque to the Commission for honoring your 10-year anniversary and to thank you on behalf of the STML Work Comp Fund and the other 492 members. So if I may approach to present, and if you'd like a photo op, I would entertain that. If you choose not to, I do have a press release that I could send along as well. So.
We can always take a photo, I guess.
All right.
It's good seeing you again.
Yeah. let's see. Just take-
Everybody's got a camera phone or something. Yeah, okay. Go ahead, Devin.
Do you want to go stand up there, Deb?
Here, how about we stand out
We
here?
all stand up?
Roger,
No.
do you want to get in?
No, that's fine.
Don and I will break the camera.
Yeah.
I'll take a picture.
There we go.
Look at that.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brad.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Deb.
Thank you.
Good seeing you again, man.
See you too. Safe, oh, you got it.
I grabbed it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Did you leave the press
See
release?
you later.
I'll send, if you wanna send me that picture, I'll send it to Brett.
Sure.
All right. Jen, we're still on time. We're at 4:15. Nurses report.
Good afternoon, everybody. Did
Hello.
everybody get the report or the
Yes.
quarterly? Do you have any questions about anything?
You get shaky.
Looking forward, what are you anticipating on the flu season?
On the flu season? It's always hard to tell, but we've already had positive cases confirmed, so I think it's kind of not starting out very well.
Is it the same line as last year, or is this gonna be a different?
That I don't know. I know it was influenza A, but the strain I'm not positive on.
How'd your pod go today?
It's still in the process. It goes 2 to 7, and from what I
Have you
hear,
been busy?
it's going well. I haven't been over there, so. But
Now, that's a great thing that, you know, for all the children, that's great.
yes,
Fantastic.
yes, we're very happy to put those on for kids.
Has it been a reported death already of flu in South Dakota? Did I just see a headline coming across in the last 24 hours?
I didn't see that.
Or is it
but
just maybe a confirmed case?
I've confirmed cases, but I have not heard of any deaths. I could be behind, though.
It's all right, you've had a busy day.
We did have a couple of clinics set up in our office for county employees, state employees, to get their flu shots also. So one's this Friday and one is Thursday of next week, and then we're going to look at future dates if they're needed, but they are filling up.
Everything else has been going pretty well though, considering we've had a little bit of early fall, if we want to call it that,
Right.
colds, but everything else has been pretty good.
A lot of crud going around, but yeah, it's been going pretty good.
Would it be possible to, when you give the data for the different breakdowns, to show this cumulative total in maybe the same month last year? So
Oh,
that we
to
can-
compare 'em?
So we can
Yeah.
know what's going on. I mean, you're making tons of visits and you know, I'm not sure what social and emotional screenings are, but
Oh.
57 seems like quite a bit.
Yeah, but yeah, I know twice a year we do our stat analysis where we kind of break down, and that's in January and July. We kind of break down the prior 6 months, and then we tend to compare it to the year before to show trends, but we could certainly add it on here if you want. It'd be easier.
Interesting to watch the trend.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
You think the caseload's up for the year, average, or down for the year?
I think right now we're pretty average. Yeah.
Would you say that families in need or kids in need have increased, in your opinion?
It kind of fluctuates, but not a massive amount. So, I mean, there's some months, but lately I don't think it's been as bad. I mean, I think we're seeing some decreases, so it's a good thing.
Any other questions for Jen?
Thank you, keep up the good work.
Thank you. Guys, have a good day.
Thank you.
Okay, we need a motion to approve the nurses report. Steve, ambulance rate increases.
Afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
I'm just here to talk to you guys regarding increasing our ambulance rates. It's been about 2 years since it has been 2 years as of October 1st last month, since we've raised our rates. And so I put a kind of a spreadsheet together for you in this little packet that I sent with our current rates, what I kind of propose, and what is that, 7 different services that I got rates from, just to kind of help compare.
So, do you have a breakdown of where those services were?
I do. And some of the services, when they gave it to me, and they said that they weren't supposed to share them.
Oh.
So that's why there's service A, B, and C.
So anybody in a comparable sized city?
Absolutely, every one of them are. I can tell you where I went. I went to, there's Vermillion, Watertown, Mitchell. I even got Rapid City and Sioux Falls, even though they're not comparable sizes. Aberdeen's in there. They're all comparable size, and they also have a similar paramedic level service.
So is there anything that can be done to improve the collections of the funds that haven't been collected?
We're working on it.
But it looks a little higher this year than the previous year.
What's that? How much we're writing off?
Yeah, the percent.
Well, part of the reason that is because we, as our rates go up, Medicare and Medicaid don't raise their rates. So as our rates go off, what they pay and what we charge, that has to be written off. So that gets fluctuated all the time. The fluctuation also occurs when we have a substantial amount of Medicare, Medicaid patients versus, what's the right?
Private insurance?
Private insurance, thank you for that word.
Private
That
pay.
was the word. Yeah, then there's private pays that we have to deal with, but Tara's working pretty hard at getting those moving, and she's got a lot of activity going in regards to that. But it's so up and down depending on where what those patients' insurances happen to be.
So the amount that isn't collected, over expended, that's in Medicaid, that's not covered by Medicare or Medicaid, how much of that?
If Medicare says this is how much an ambulance costs, okay, it's whatever that happens to be, they pay 80% of that. Then the patient's responsible for 20% of that bill. A lot of those patients have secondary insurances that pick up that, but I shouldn't say a lot. Some patients have secondary insurances that pick that up. Some patients then just have to, goes to the private pay into their deductible kind of thing, responsible. The other thing is all depends on how fast you get your bill in. There's a big debate about that. Do you get your bill in right away and then all of a sudden it becomes the patient's responsibility because it's part of their deductible? Or do you sit and wait for a little while and then submit the bill so that the insurance is picking up and their deductible's already been met? There's all this controversy in how to play that game and all that stuff. But we're not really playing that game. We just submit the bill, and if it happens to be within their deductible, they'll be responsible for paying it. That's a private pay, or they've already, their insurance has been met, their deductible has been met, and then we get that 80% from there. Some of the insurances that are on the exchange don't pay an 80%, they pay 60% or 50%. It all depends on what type of insurance they have.
So let's look at the rates that are spread out here. Looked at 2, 4, 6, 7 different communities. Looks like we're well, with the proposed change is well within range, and actually probably a little less than most of those on most of those services.
That was kind of, yes, and that was kind of my goal. I mean, we are a service that we provide to our taxpayers, and we then collect money from those individuals we transport. So I didn't want to be like big business and kind of try to squeeze everything out of them.
How did you determine how much raise you wanted to propose?
Well, a lot of this I kind of used the 7% figure, 6 to 7% figure. Some of those were like barely any type of increase that wasn't even close than what I referred to as kind of the market rates that were, so then I bumped them up a little bit from there. So I had kind of a plan of just making it a simple percentage, but then when I looked at the percentage, it wasn't even close there.
So how did you come up with a 6 or 7% as a?
Just sat down with the computer and picked that number. The way I kind of looked at it is over the 2 years, we've had, 4% increase in salaries. and then we probably have had a 4 to 5% increase in supplies. That's how I did it. And I think that one of the things that is kind of new to the industry is to every year pick a number, and every year you increase by a certain percent. You know, every year you do a 2% increase to kind of keep up with the cost of
Well, cost of living
supplies and,
adjustments, you get about a
that type of thing,
historical
right.
average is 3%.
If you kind of watch my cost per resident number as the, in the next 6 months, my cost per resident will come down because, or within the next 12 months, because our rates are gonna go up and it'll be closer, but if we don't, the following year, that cost per resident will widen because we don't have, that constant, change. Our costs of supplies, employment, all that stuff goes up, but if we don't, but our numbers, our charges stay stagnant, you're gonna see a reflection in that.
So in other words, we raise our rates to accommodate what just normal inflationary costs. It doesn't put as much burden on the taxpayer because it's
Right.
coming from private pay
Right,
or insurance.
right.
What's the difference between advanced life support emergency and advanced life support 2 emergency?
The level of care and skills that is provided. The Medicare has some set guidelines, and if you do certain skills like intubations or intraosseous infusion, if you give 3 or more medication administrations, you can charge an ALS level 2. That gives you a little bit more money because you're using more supplies.
Steve, I think your revenue that the ambulance department generated in 2017 was north of $760,000.
Yes.
Ballpark number,
Yes.
wasn't it?
Yes, without looking at it, in a ballpark somewhere between, let's say, $200,000 to $300,000 of taxpayer money is all we spent. So when you look at like a pretty close to $1 million budget, only spending $300,000 to provide the level of service that we provide as an ALS paramedic level service is not a whole lot of money.
And that service also includes vehicles, equipment.
Vehicles, equipment, the bricks and mortar, the electricity, everything that at
Your entire
the
budget,
station.
not
the
just
whole-
your
right,
services budget. Yeah.
Right, the entire budget.
Any other questions for Steve in regards to his proposed rate increases?
No. I think it's justified.
Does there need to be a motion on this, or is it just a
I believe
approval
so,
of this?
yes.
And then
Move
he's gonna-
approval of the recommended ambulance rate
Second.
increases.
I'll second it.
Got a motion, we got a second, any discussion?
It's pretty neat. I like it. I like your scope.
Okay, cool, thank you.
If there's any other comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, the next on the item is more kind of informational, then I'm going to ask you a question. November 13th, I'll be going on my 30 to 60 day or 60 to 90 day sick leave to continue my medical treatment. In that interim, Troy, you all know Troy Kalman, will be kind of acting administrator and supervisor for the department. He is well qualified, and he's been on the department longer than he would like for me to mention to anybody. So anyhow, what my question is because he's taking on the extra response, I'd like to try to give him a little bump in pay, and between November 11th and January 1, which you'll get another bump, you'll get the standard increase. But what I would like to go is just bump him from, he's right now at a 9-year salary rate, bump him to the 10-year salary rate, just giving him, I think that's 74 cents an hour.
Just for the time you're gone, or
Just
what?
for the time that I'm gone, yes.
I don't even know if that needs to be I mean, he's essentially acting as assistant supervisor, am I
Yes.
correct?
Right, he is. Though we never really put that, that position in the books. It's something I need to work on, but we don't really have a position for that.
I really don't have any objection to that. I mean, he's taking on added responsibility, and he's more than well qualified on it.
Absolutely.
Patty, would that need to be a motion to
Yes.
temporarily raise his salary? Okay.
And we can do it
But-
between, well,
But it's not on the agenda.
It was on what he sent in.
It's not on
the
the
one I
agenda.
sent
Not on
in.
the agenda. It's just, it has your ambulance rate increase.
Okay, so that's not
So we'll have to put it on the November
8th.
8th meeting agenda.
Before you take off.
Okay,
Well-
yeah, okay,
well,
that's plenty. Yeah, now
it's-
that you changed the date, I will be here, be able to make it, yeah, okay.
Well, we can always make it retroactive to the 1st of November as well.
Well, I'm gonna be in, I'll be here until the
Well,
Labor Day, or not Labor Day, but Veterans Day. And then that's when I go, so we have that 2 weeks anyhow,
Well, let's
so.
put it on the agenda for first meeting in November.
Okay.
But, you know, as the commissioners sit here today, we can have some discussion in regards to that. Not take any action, but,
Okay, okay.
any comments from other commissioners?
I think it's only reasonable to do that for somebody stepping into a position like that.
I don't disagree.
Okay, I'll get it back on the agenda, so in 2 minutes worth of time, so, okay.
thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Anything else?
Nope.
All right, thank you guys
Speedy
very much.
recovery.
Yes, sir.
With your treatment, good luck, and we'll be praying for you.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you.
We have to go in the ditch board. Do we need that on the agenda or not?
Well, you can just make a motion for it.
All right, I need a motion to go into the ditch board.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We're in ditch board. Chris Nelson, Yankton Clay lateral ditch culvert and repair, or culvert repair and maintenance. Good afternoon. Good. Good. Sun's shining,
Yeah.
not raining. I'm sure the farmers are pretty
Excited about that.
excited to get moving a little bit.
Yeah, a little antsy, a little antsy. It'll all get done, so. Yeah, so where would you want to start, on which one?
Start with the lateral.
Okay, the lateral.
Chris, will you also pull the mic a little bit
Yeah.
closer, just so?
Yeah, Yankton Clay ditch number 2 is the ditch that it involves the culvert that goes underneath the town of Gayville, east-west on the south side of town. And then it goes north on the east side of Gayville and meanders its way up through a few fields there. The district has been levying taxes and collecting money to pay for the loan that was taken out to pay for that culvert that goes underneath the town of Gayville. And there is a, I'll call it a surplus of money to a degree in that account, above and beyond what's generated versus what gets outflows as far as for payment there. There's an effort to recreate the board over there. We sent out notification to all the people who get taxes levied on them. We had a public meeting down in Gayville, elected a board, and then we talked about where we got some issues, because down in that Gayville area, we had a lot of flood out, drowned out, problematic areas down there this year. And I came representing a landlord that I have farmers ground down in that north of Gayville. So talked about where there is some problems and where we felt the biggest problems were, which was from the east side of Gayville going north and up to the north end of Gayville and into the country. So there was based on what was presented to me as far as excess dollars, we sort of put a motion and a second together as far as to do two different sections of it, not to exceed $20,000. We went and looked for contractors that could do the work, and I think out of 5 of them that we reached out to, 2 responded, and we got 2 bids back. And the bids came in substantially less than what we thought. We were expecting around 20,000. We came in at 10. And yes.
So that's, I see 2 bids to provide the culvert, and then 1 bid to do
Yeah, that's the
That's
next
it.
chapter.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is just the ditch cleaning.
Yeah, that's, yeah, plumbing and electric, and then a Fimer bid there. Fimer Construction.
Yeah, plumbing and electric service was just at 10,000.
Yes.
And then
Yeah,
Fimer's
Fimer.
on the ditch cleaning was at 10,607.
Yeah.
They came up with different lengths, which I'm not sure how, but they're both looking at the same scope of work, so.
6,200 feet, and what's the other one?
6,300 feet.
Okay.
So,
You've got the money, that's adequate money?
yeah, based on what we,
Patty just gave me the report, there's $22,255.96 in the Yankton Clay Ditch number 2 as of October.
And their yearly payment is a little over 10,000.
and that's,
For what the work they have done, and that's been already taken off this year.
right. So by
Okay.
the time next year's payment's due in May, you'll collect 2 more halves then.
Yes.
So that way there's adequate, okay. So, you got a resolution, as far as, that came out of Gary Ferberg, president of the Yankton Clay ditch number 2 there, that, to give it to plumbing and electric. And so just looking to get approval on that from the board
So are
here.
you looking at the $10,000 one?
Yes.
Yeah, from,
Well,
yeah.
I move to approve the.
Ray, before we take a motion,
Okay.
questions and comments from the board for Chris before we take a motion?
This particular board is already set up and taxation is in place, is that correct?
Right.
When you spoke earlier, another one is being set up that will hopefully start getting taxation. That wouldn't be until 2020 then, right? Because it didn't get approved this year.
Yeah, or the Mission, I think like the
There's a
Mission
Mission
Hill.
Hill one.
Yeah, that one's got a ways to go yet. But like I say, unfortunately, I got removed from that one because I wasn't a landowner, so. But I'm still doing work behind the scenes for that one too, so.
This is the culvert one, I think, right here. So do we want to do these together, or do you have them separate?
They'd have to be separate.
No, because they're separate ditches.
So, on the ditch cleanup, any other questions for Chris in regards to the recommendation of the $10,000 bid?
And that's on Yankton Clay County Ditch 2.
Correct.
I'd just like to say thanks for hiring a local contractor, Fimers. It's nice to keep the money
Yeah,
locally instead of somebody, Iowa, Sioux City, Sioux Falls. Thank you.
Have they done the work already, Chris?
no, no.
So they will, this is just a quote from Fibers, though?
Yeah, they're both quotes and, like I say, it just.
Is it the plumbing and electric?
Yeah,
though, that-
plumbing and
then-
electric's got a sharper number there.
Yeah.
But it's been there's been conversation, but I wasn't sure how the cards laid, so that's, to come in front of the commission and just make sure that everything's on the up and up and,
So when they finish the job, then they will present an invoice to us and we will pay it then?
yeah,
Not until it's finished?
that's, yeah, not till it's done.
So, since there's 2 bids, one for Fimers and 10,600, and
Yeah.
one at plumbing and electric for 10,000 even.
Yeah, plumbing, electric, which is still local across the bridge there, but they have the sharper bids, so, and.
So your recommendation is a plumbing and electric service for 10,000?
Yeah, based on capabilities, they're both equally capable. As far as availability, plumbing and electric is more available this year. Fimers sort of wish they would not get it if they were a little bit, he said, we're just so busy. And Roger is very astute that they can get at it, so.
Okay.
Any other questions for Chris in regards to the Yankton Clay Ditch number 2 in regards to cleaning out the ditch? If there is no other questions on this portion, I'd entertain a motion on the Yankton Clay Ditch number 2.
I'll make a motion for the Clay ditch number 2.
What's the, and then you also need to include
Company, then.
the amount, Gary.
Oh, the amount, yeah.
It was plumbing and electric
Plumbing,
service.
electric, and fiber construction.
No,
Or-
no, it's one or the other.
Oh,
Their recommendation was the plumbing and service for 10,000.
okay. Not the fiber.
Correct. You still comfortable with your motion?
No, I'm not. I thought it was for the
Okay.
fiber construction. Sorry. Haven't got my hearing aids in again.
So you
I'll just. can I
disregard your
retract
motion?
the-
Retract your motion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve for the Yankton Clay Ditch number 2, the removal and clean out of trees in the amount of $10,000 by plumbing and electric services.
Got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
A second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I oppose.
Motion carries. All right, next one, Chris.
Yeah, the next project there is for the Yankton Clay ditch. And that comes at a request, the Yankton Clay ditch, it's been levying taxes and collecting taxes there. We're at the very top end of it, northwest of Gayville. And where it starts at and starts going through the fields there's a failed culvert, or I'd call it semi-failed. There's some water getting through, but there appears to be a hole in it based on the settling that's going down through the driveway that goes over the culvert. And then also we got some problem with plugging there too, because if you go further upstream, I believe there's probably about a 48-inch culvert on top of it. It's the next one. And then one on top of that is probably about a 30-inch culvert. And those are flowing, but then we get down to this 18-inch culvert that it feeds into. I shouldn't laugh, but it doesn't work. Plus you shove a couple hundred acres of corn stalks through it and it's a mess. And what ends up happening is the fields that are adjacent to it end up getting flooded, and because the water cannot get through, and it just becomes a holding tank on there's probably 150 acres that very easily gets affected above the culvert. And, from there it can wander through a field and get back in on the next culvert down, and that goes underneath Old Highway 50. We did do some, meaning myself, we went down and used an excavator to try to expose one end, and it helped, but then we got the Father's Day week rains, and then it's all for nothing.
And this letter is about that same situation?
Yeah, and, that's what that requesting, being there isn't a local board that represents up on the top end there. I realize that there's a Yankton Clay Ditch board that meets in Meckling on a yearly basis, but Peggy owns the ground adjacent to it, that I farm adjacent to that. My landlord lives a little bit further away through Peggy. She's requesting that we pull out the culvert, excavate it, remove it, and reinstall a 40-inch culvert, of which CNC Construction, which would be Cliff Madsen here of Yankton, he had the low-cost bid to do the work on that, supply the culvert and install.
So is that option 1 that you're looking at there?
Yeah, I'm not,
Or option 2?
Yeah, option 1, the lower cost.
$49.50,
Yes. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, option 2 to $43.80.
$43.80.
Yep,
So the difference there is the light gauge and the heavy gauge.
right. And as I understood him, when I asked, because of the price disparity, he asked how many times they can get used and, cover and all that. And he felt comfortable with the $43.80, but he says, you want to spend more money, we certainly can. And that's not the objective here, so.
Well, even at the $49.50, it's lower than the other bid you had.
Right, yeah, from Fimers.
I guess I'm just wondering if we should be more prudent and put our heavier gauge in there. When's the last time it was replaced?
I would encourage it.
Yeah, well, Bill Huther put in, and I'm not sure, he said a few years ago, so that was probably somewhere in the tune of 5 to 7 years ago. I don't know.
That doesn't seem like very long for a culvert to last.
Yeah, if something went squirrely there or what, but yeah, absolutely, like I say, it's, if it's mine, I would spend more dollars, but it's a matter of it's a low-cost deal. Cliff felt comfortable with both of them. It's just a matter of where your comfort zone is.
Opening and length are all the same, it looks like, correct?
Yes.
I don't know, I just think if we're opening up the hole, taking the old one out, I think we should go with the stronger of the two.
One question before we make that decision. As I look at this invoice, I see a total of $93.30.
That'd be the two added together.
Yeah.
Why
And-
do we need two of them added together?
Well, for Cliff to do is, you know, it's, I questioned that right off the bat when I saw I was a little staggered by the number. And I asked him, he said, the only way I can do that bid, he said, to put them both, you know, what he should have done is done two different proposals on two different sheets is logically what he should have done. So I told him I wanted a quote. And, he did two quotes, but we only need one. We do not need both.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a fictitious number. That's a meaningless number.
Yeah, it should be
Okay.
blacked out in all reality, so.
Thank you.
So the CC Concrete construction has the lower bid, which either way we go. Well, I'd make a motion that we accept the bid from CC Concrete Construction for $4,950.
I'm gonna second that.
Got a motion, we got a second, any discussion?
I'm comfortable with this bid because Volun Township recently, well, last year, we replaced ours was 36 inch, so that'd been a 3-foot by, I believe ours was 42, so, and this is a fair bid, so.
And there's plenty of assets in the account, or cash in the account, there's about 110, almost $111,000 in that account right now, so. Other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. Thank you.
Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Good
Okay,
luck.
good. Can I get a motion to go into regular session?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We're in regular session. Not too far behind, couple minutes. Yankton Community Library Services, Dana Schmidt and Linda Drobny. Did I say that right? I didn't even come close to that, I'm sorry.
All right, so I think you guys should have received a copy of the,
Dana, can you pull
Pull
the
that down by your
mic
mic.
closer to you a little bit there?
okay. You should have received a copy of the agreement for provision of library services. And if I may, I have a little infographic that I'd like to share with you guys. And if you
Please.
have any questions.
Thank you.
And you're our new librarian, correct?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I just handed out a little infographic that shows our total number of card holders is just over 6,000, and of that, 1,000 are county residents. So county residents make up about 16% of our users, and we're requesting the same amount that we had last year, 24,000 from the county. And so that actually makes up about 2.9% of our budget. So if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to hear them.
I think it's a great service. I mean, but a lot of people tell me how excited they are only have to pay $5 when they go.
Yes. Yeah, there's lots of materials, lots of services available with that. So it's a great deal.
Well, I need to apologize because I'm your liaison from the county and I've had multiple conflicts whenever there's been a library board meeting, so my apologies for not being able to be at those meetings, but.
Yeah, well, and we love to have multiple input and perspectives, so we'd encourage that if you can do it, so.
Keep trying.
Okay, sounds good.
But I wanted to make sure to express that, so.
Sounds
I
good.
listened to you on the radio, and you've got some really interesting programs coming up, so I thank you for bringing, new ideas and some different perspective into the library.
Thank you.
Did that library project, that walking across the bridge with the storybook, is that gone
Yes.
by the wayside?
We actually just took it down for the season. I think this is the 3rd year that we've had it up. And I believe you helped put those together, didn't you? The boards. But we've gotten lots of positive comments about those, having stories along the bottom level of the bridge. So lots of visitors enjoy that when they come in the summer. We just take it down in the winter because it gets so beat up from the elements, so.
Good, thank you.
Mhm.
Other questions for Dana?
We need a motion to approve the agreement. I move we approve the agreement with the library.
I'll second it.
Got a motion, we got a second? Any discussion?
This summer, when the grandkids were up, we did that walk on the bridge, and granddaughter got a kick out of reading the books as we went, so it is kind of neat.
It's a good way to keep them going down the bridge too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Might have to put some more eye level for the older
There you
individuals
go.
like myself.
There you go.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for the information. I forgot to mention, for those individuals who want to speak at the public comment, there is a sign-in sheet on the back, which should be just to the, by the light switch over there. Any item that's not on the agenda, please go ahead and sign up. All right. Next item on the agenda is vacate section line, Robert Berglund.
You told me I had to be here.
You told him to be here. You want me to kind of get up top and talk about it, or do you want to maybe move it 2 weeks and make sure he's here?
Why don't you enlighten us a little bit, and maybe while you're talking, maybe just a few minutes late, and then go from there.
Thank you.
Okay, does everybody have a copy of that survey?
Yeah, we're trying to find it in the plat book here.
Oh, it's kind of out by the lake, a little north of the lake. I did find it.
Yeah, I can't either.
Here's how it lays. It lays like this, is how it lays.
I'd say it's
This
in
is
section
north.
5 of the.
We did go looking for it. There's a ravine, if you can see, if you turn it this way, maybe like this. That's a ravine that's right there to the right, which would be on the east side of this property, on this plat.
What's that development called over there, Ron?
Oh,
Zedekers.
Zedekers subdivision.
Subdivision block 2.
And then too, if you look, the ravine is owned by Dan Fox. So I don't know if that helps when you're looking at, so if you look on the bottom on how you can look on who owns what property, you can, I think you can kind of use that. I don't know if he developed this area or not. I don't know if that's what he did. It's Zediker apostrophe S.
So this is down there in that development, just on off the Boy Scout Road?
In that, I think it's in that area. I do.
Because 430th was, 430 would be the Boy Scout Road.
Mhm.
And it goes over
Yeah.
100.
Did you find it? You see it in there?
Well, we got a general idea. I mean, it's not really clear.
Okay, so if you turn it this way,
Yeah.
and then this would be the east, and this would be the west. And if you look in that picture, this is a big ravine that's in the middle of the property. And then if you see, you can kind of see it's somebody took a pencil or something on there, and they're only talking lots 5 and 14.
Right where the section line goes through the center.
Yep, it goes right through the center if you look at it. It's
Uh-huh.
a little further north or closer to the 5 and 14 on the drawing. If you actually look at the drawing of where it's located.
Okay.
Because if you look at, and then the ravine goes across most of that section to the east. And you're kind of looking at, so we kind of talked about trying to put in some kind of utility easement or something, but it wouldn't work. You couldn't put in a utility easement because you'll take out those two lots. They'd be in the same position, because if you had, let's just say you took it down to 15 feet, the utility easement, it's right through the middle of both lots. So you couldn't do it, and I don't even know how you'd explain it. You'd have to go down so many feet and then go, then make a path.
So this, if we vacated this section line, this is one we would not need a utility easement to,
Mhm.
based on the contour of the land.
Yeah, because this side is not even close. You would never put utilities through the east side of the ground, and then it's farm ground, and this is a platted subdivision.
Rob, would you come and look at this here plat book and tell me if this is that line that we're talking about?
I can tell you that. It's that one that splits 5?
Well, I think it's between 5 and 8 is the
I would,
section line.
that's my understanding too.
Is this line right, is this the line right here?
5 and 8.
Right.
Yep.
Between 5 and 8, this line, right?
Yep.
This is what you want to vacate.
No, and it would be just where it's a little farther right there. But this is gonna go this way.
So we're only vacating the section line in those two lots.
Those two lots.
Oh.
Only in the two lots.
Only in the two lots. They're not asking to come across or go the whole way across.
But if you vacate it in the two lots, that
You're-
effectively negates the whole thing anyway, because it can't go right.
You'd eliminate it, you're correct.
And it's probably already being farmed or,
To the west. To the west is a farm ground.
but that's platted acres, with development.
Yep.
All those,
Is that Caton Lane there? Have they, I mean, it's platted, but have they graded that?
Yeah, it's a road. There's houses on every one of those lots, except for 5 and 14.
Okay.
Everyone has a house. Or if it doesn't, it's pretty close. I thought everyone had a house, but I mean, it's,
I know that development, we had family, friends that lived back there when I was young, so this
Yeah.
development's been around for quite some
yeah,
time.
Todd, and I do think everyone has a house.
Is that the Deep Woods Edition?
It might be. I'm not,
So, Rob, my question to you was earlier is, normally the vacating a section line requires a lot of signatures on a petition, right?
if it's in an unorganized township, then it's that, we do have them.
Okay,
Patty
good.
has them here, Todd, with all of them.
Is there multiple ones? 'Cause-
Yeah.
oh, that's-
Yep.
What was in the packet was just one page of
Yeah.
one signature, so that was my.
Yeah, I didn't think you need all of those.
I think we do need to have all that in the official records,
Yeah.
so.
So is anybody against this? I mean, we're only doing those two sections, right? Those two plats.
The two lots, yeah. No, not that
Lot 5
I'm.
and Lot 14.
Mhm.
Is there any reason why we should wait until Mr. Berglund is here?
Probably not, Todd. I don't, based on,
Is he the owner of both those lots?
no, I looked at both lots, I thought both lots sold.
One says Berglund, one says Ron Barkley?
And they are different owners, so he might just own the one.
Robert Betty Berglund.
On the signature, did they both sign, both of the owners sign? Well, we know he
Barkley
signed, he
signed,
brought it
it's on
forth.
RB Farms.
So the warranty deed shows Rick Doherty and Lisa Bala Doherty
Sold it.
sold it to Robert and Betty Berglund. And then RB Farms sold it to Mark and Peggy Scholl, 200 Dayton Lane.
And weren't those relatively new sales?
That was
Done in
August of 17.
a year ago. On Barkley, and then January of this year on for the Berglunds. So are we only talking about Berglund's section line, or are we talking about?
Both. If you look at the petition, it says for both lots,
Yeah,
14 and 5.
yeah, I see that right now.
Call me conservative, but part of me would like to have the owners here before we vacate a section line of their
No,
property.
Todd, I would agree.
I don't know.
And maybe there's something being said or done, or maybe they'd want something different. Maybe they would want some kind of utility easement on one of their lot lines or something. I don't know how that would work, because you're not gonna connect up to that section line no matter what. So that would do them no good.
So going back to the statement that by annulling it just in the lots, you annul the whole works. So-
Well, no, because in a sense, because you're not gonna connect across from the east to the west. Because this is there's the valley there, then there's some land over on the other side of the valley, and then the lots are on this side. So by getting rid of those lots, you're not bringing that across. I mean, you wouldn't bring it across that valley anyhow. But even coming from the other direction, you just in effect shut her down. Like I had a big long string, and I took out 2 pieces of my string that I'm not coming across. I took the bridge out, and I'm done.
Questions for Rob of the commission?
Yeah, Rob, are you legally representing Mr. Berglund?
No. The only thing that I did, Gary, was I checked into, because we've been doing as a board in the past is putting in utility easements in case at some time we would want a utility easement. And so I did look and to see whether that was an option. So before we came to the board today, I wanted to maybe prepare for it, as in get them ready. But when I went to go look at how it was laid out and kind of figure it out a little better, I saw that it wasn't logical and it wasn't a possibility. So then that's why we're here today. That's the only thing I did. I went and looked at a map and blew it up and figured out where it was and stuff, so.
Did he plan to be here today?
I didn't talk to
He was
him.
emailed and he did respond that he would be here.
Yeah, so I don't know, and maybe something happened or something that unforeseen. I think, but
And we postpone it until they show up.
I just took some phrase down because there's lots of ifs and kind of maybes.
oh, no, Gary, I agree. I don't know him and I didn't talk to him, so there might be something there that I'm not catching on to or something.
So let's,
Table?
let's just, Patty, let's put this back on the agenda once we can confirm Mr. Berglund can be in attendance. We won't officially make a motion to table it, we'll just contact him and make sure that we're on the same page. All right, next item on the agenda, Mr. Commissioner Swenson, Roads and Bridges.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Woods. I've just got some handouts here. If somebody would come up and grab these and hand them out, here comes a lady. And there's enough for everybody, and this is about roads and bridges, and if I'm talking too loud, my hearing aids aren't working, so
Do you have a
tell me
copy for the commissioners?
I'm talking too loud. I'm
Do
sorry.
you have a copy for the commissioners?
I do. There'll be plenty there when they come around.
I thought you didn't have them.
Yep, sorry.
Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, there'll be enough for everybody.
Thanks for your assistance.
And if you would be so kind, Patty, to, everything that I read on this little statement here, if you would put that into the minutes. And Chairman Woods, if you would
All
be.
of it?
No. What I'm gonna read here.
Oh, okay.
This is just a supplement. And if Chairman Woods, you'd be kind enough to keep everybody at bay until I'm finished, and then I can answer questions. But there shouldn't be any questions, because everything I'm gonna speak about, I'll have a copy of that for everyone. That handout is from a year ago. It was a newspaper, not the newspaper, but the KSFY television came down here in October and filmed that. And then that is the written part of the article from the toll bridge items.
I believe it was
And
awesome.
I'm going to talk about this. And like I said, sorry with my hearing aid things, but here we go. And then, like I said, I've got a copy of what I'm going to read here for everybody. And this is dated October 16th from the County Commission meeting. Gary Swenson, the Yankton County Commissioner. About these next 10 minutes on the agenda are about county roads and bridges. As I grew up in Yankton County, and if I had $1 for every time over the Johnson and Fleet Bridge, and small bridges and culverts in Yankton County, I'd probably be a multimillionaire. Now, what I want to know is who the hell changed the name of the Fleet Bridge? Growing up, this was the only paved route to Sioux City, Iowa, called Highway 50, until the present 4-lane bypass was built in the 60s. It was then called Old Highway 50 or East Highway 50 Bridge most of my life. Of course, some people in this room never grew up in Yankton County. I fished under these bridges when I was a kid, like a lot of the people did. I even watched the Johnson and the Fleet Bridge, AKA Highway 50, being built. Some of the people in this room also did too. Last year, I invited TV station KSFY to Yankton County Commission meeting, and they recorded the meeting about the toll bridge idea I introduced in 2017, and Kelly Smith from KSFY was here. The toll bridge story was the top news story at 10 p.m. that night with news anchor Brian Allen, KSFY. Of course, if you read the comment on the second page when Commissioner Todd Woods was interviewed after the meeting, and I quote, here's the quote on that second page that I'm going to hand out to everybody. Commissioner Todd Woods says, while the county has been working to find funding for roads for several years, he says he worries this idea is just not feasible at this point, unquote. And I just got a little bit more here. I want to apologize to all the voters of Yankton County for being denied, ignored, limited, or reduced their amounts of input for roads and bridges for Yankton County. Sometimes being given pity parties, guilt trips, and frequently hearing that we have no money from some individuals for roads and bridges. Furthermore, the $1 million that was given to the city of Yankton when the current commission voted 4-1 to sell West City Limits Road to the city of Yankton recently, and then throwing in $1 million to boot, as my father, Yankton County farmer, would say, the $1 million to garnish the deal. Dad and his family of farmers used these two bridges and the small bridges and the previous bridges that were there before they were replaced by the Johnson and Fleet. My grandpa Swenson came here approximately in the family farm in 1911, 6.5 miles north of WX Towers on the Welshtown Road, which is currently 444, excuse me. Again, I'm sorry and very sorry to the voters of Yankton County in regard to some of the roads and the bridges and in their current sad state. These roads and bridges are vital transportation routes for many to work, school, conducting business, purchasing groceries to gasoline into Yankton. I bring up three names that seem to resonate to the top, not just about our roads in Yankton County, but from current affairs in our state, nation, and world. These three names are not to be confused, and I repeat, not to be confused with anyone in this room, county, state, nation, past or present commissioners. As a student of USD Vermillion, my major was history ed and criminal justice. These names resonated very often in college, like in Yankton County, other states, and other places in the world for decades. These names, and I quote, Hitler, Stalin, Mussolini, and again, Hitler, Stalin, and Mussolini, end quote. With that said, there's any questions from the audience, and the only thing that I forgot to write in here was that $1 million that went to the city of Yankton for the purchase or the sale of West City Limits Road came from the Fleet Bridge Fund. Now, I've got copies of this for everybody, and I'll hand them out to everybody. Now, if there's any questions from the audience, I'd like to ask.
No, I'm good.
Gary, I think this was already handed out.
Is this Gary? Is this the same one?
No, that's different. This is different. This is just what I just said right here. So there's won't be any confusion on what I said, because I read it verbatim. Just give the rest of it. Here, I got these other commissioners. Oh.
That's maybe official minutes of it.
There you go. So anyway, that's my short little statement, and like I said, you think I took up my 10 minutes, did we?
So,
anybody got any questions here from the audience?
So, Commissioner Swenson, I'll ask for public comment this time if you'll let me have the floor back.
No, you can't have the floor back.
Well,
How many minutes have I taken so far?
Gary, as the chairman of the county commission, I will open up public comment from the public on your request at this time. And as chairman, I do have the authority to take the floor back.
You get to overrule me, huh? Okay.
So does anybody like to speak at this time? Please approach please approach the podium, state your name.
Here you go.
Yeah, intriguing idea. I'm sorry.
And John, I know your voice carries, but pull the mic in too a little bit for us.
John Gunderson, Irene, South Dakota.
Patty, here's one for you.
Intriguing idea, Gary. Have you researched any statutory authority to set up a toll bridge?
I will get back to you on any questions that you have. Right now, is that what your question is?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll get back with you.
Okay.
That's what.
I mean, that's.
Some of the people I was talking.
You're going to set up a toll bridge.
Yeah, I've been doing some research for the last year on it, so it's a little too detailed. We're going to take way more than 10 minutes if I have to explain it to you. Matter of fact, there's some companies that even got a hold of me.
Anyone else have any comments in regards to Commissioner Swenson's statement and presentation? Please approach.
I wish Brian Rhodes guy.
Our Highway Superintendent, Gusted.
Yeah, Gusted. I wish you were here because you know what? I don't even know what our options are. Can you tell us what can we do a TIF for our own bridges? How can we? I just don't know how to do it. I don't know what's available.
So there's all sorts of different funding options for bridges. You can do a bond issue, which essentially would be a tax to pay for. A bond would be a loan like it's been done in the safety center. And then you have a levy that pays on that bond or loan until it's paid off.
But if you levy, how do you levy all the people who use it?
You levy every citizen of Yankton County. Just like the safety center is, it's built here in, where the jail is. There's a levy on everybody's property taxes that goes to pay off that loan. So there's an option. There's different types of options that are allowed by law.
So if we did a bond, you can't run like we did for the pellet plant. Can you do that for Yankton County?
You can do a bond. County's done bonds before for projects, whether it's for this building, as we're sitting in. The highway shop was a bond.
So it'll be a non-taxable.
No,
This will be a tax. But I mean,
I
don't know what I'm talking about.
Let me I think I know where your question's going a little bit. So the Dakota Protein Pellet is a different type of bond, okay? This is actually using county tax dollars to pay for infrastructure, a building or something like that. That would be referable if there was a motion and there was a plan in place and we passed a bond. The people, because it's using tax dollars, could petition it, or the commissioner could say, we're just going to put it out to a vote to fund this, whatever project is available. So, but the project, whether we want to call it the Old Fleegs Bridge or Johnson Bridge, cost to replace those are in the $10 million range, could be more, and very expensive to do.
Mr. Chairman, wouldn't this be similar to what the city's just doing with the swimming pool? They're doing an opt-out?
Similar in nature.
Well, I can tell you that that road, Old 50, is used, it doesn't matter when we drive on it, there is traffic on it all the time. This is a really important bridge.
Absolutely. I think we all understand that part of it. Part of the process we've been going through is trying to get DOT grants to help it. We've got one for the Johnson and the other two bridges above that going up towards the northern part of the county. Part of the process now is with the Fleegs Bridge or the Old 50 Bridge or whatever we want to call it, is to be able to get it eligible for a rehab grant from the state DOT. So that means we wouldn't have to take a bond. We could use DOT funds if we were awarded, like we were for the other 3 bridges. And that could bring it back up to par without doing a tax increase. That's why we've done what we've done on these bridges, is so we can utilize grant money versus doing a tax levy.
It explains a lot, thank you. Is there any combination of these items? I don't know, Gary, have you looked? I really don't. I guess I always think more one thing, but would a combination of items work? I don't know. I'm just asking.
So would you, is it kind of like a loan and a grant, are you asking about?
Sure, a loan, a grant, anything that will help the county out with money.
Essentially.
Are you saying let's just get the ball rolling?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you go there anytime, like before a shift or when a shift gets out, it's insane, and that road is pretty crappy. That's just the way it is. So, I mean, you can't fix the road until the bridge gets done. What's the point?
Well, and I think this commission has known our roads and bridges. We've talked about it at length at every
I know.
meeting in between the last 4 years. We also understood the funding revenue was limited, so we tried unsuccessfully 2 opt-outs, 2 levies to take care of just road and bridge maintenance and to increase the wheel tax. All failed. We also had multiple sessions in the meeting that went probably for 3 months to have people come up with possible solutions, and we didn't have any comments on it.
We don't know what our options are. I don't know how to find out what our options are. So we talked about them.
So our only options are only allowable what state law gives us. The road and bridge levy opt-out, which was passed in 2015 by the state to give us that option. We can do a bonding option. We don't have an option to pass a gas tax. We don't have the authority as a commission because that does not give it, the state doesn't give it to us. We only have very limited options, and those are the ones we talked about at length 2 years ago, and those are the ones we try to bring forward. Well, there are only 2 options at that time. We are very limited on our options.
I know this isn't our decision as a county, but I think that wheel tax really is unfair, because I pay for all 4 of my tires.
Right. And what we tried to pass was an increase to 12 tires and a penny more for the people that had, you know.
More.
And it didn't pass.
I mean, it was, we went
Nope.
up.
Nope.
No,
That
no.
was,
And I know why it didn't pass, because the trucking industry put so much pressure on in Pierre that.
no. This
No,
is
it was
this is
local.
just
It was local.
Yankton County.
We tried to do it locally.
This was just Yankton County try to pass an increase to our wheel tax. That is a county by county tax. Pennington County, Rapid City, they do not have a wheel tax.
Well, I can tell you other things. Where are the cops and where are the sheriffs? Because when we load out grain, I will tell that driver, don't overload this truck. They have gauges, they have scales. Where are the cops? Why aren't they not patrolling those roads?
So I would tell you this, they are being patrolled. And you can ask the individual who got pulled over carrying a milk truck 37 tons overweight on the Fleegs Bridge. They're being patrolled, but just like the speed limit, there's people that are going to abide by it, there's people that are not, and your law enforcement can't catch every violator.
That's true.
Patty, state law, I think, correct me, says that if a sheriff or a highway patrolman is just, and Gary, you can probably answer this too, has to suspects somebody and stops them, they have to be within 5 miles of a certified scale or they can't take them to weigh them. 5 miles.
That's insane.
If you're finished, I'd like to add something.
Go ahead.
My cousin, Randy Swenson, got picked up years ago for overweight. And the Highway Patrol singled him out because there was 3 trucks in a row and they got him, he was in the middle. Well, the Highway Patrolman didn't know that the guy in front of him and the guy behind him were hauling Randy's grain. And they went to court, and long story short, he's got a plaque at home with a pardon from Governor Janklow because he singled him out.
But was he overweight?
I don't know all the details, but I'm just telling you, he's got a pardon from Governor Jankel.
And I can tell you, if it's hauling grain, or I don't care what it's hauling, no matter what you say to them, they come up with an excuse, oh, I'm going to offload in Yankton and I'm heading down to where, you know, I don't know.
I'll agree with you on a lot of things. There's a lot of frustration on this, but we are very limited on what we can do, and we've tried that, and we've been pretty much, we're at where we're at.
Thank you for explaining a lot of this stuff to me.
Wouldn't you agree, Patty, that we need to get the ball going faster?
Yes.
Than waiting another 3 years?
You know, when you drive over the bridge, the riprap is getting washed away from all this rain, and you know, my husband worked at the dam. He was doing riprap all the time, and it's worrisome. You know, if I go over this one more time, is it going to cost me? You know,
Patty, rest assured, the bridge is safe. We inspect the Bronze Street Fleegs Bridge every year.
I'm glad to hear that.
And actually, the wash underneath this was less this year because the spring rains changed the flow, so we're not getting the same wash under the bridge. So it's, if there's a silver lining, it's that.
It'll need attention, but I guarantee you we are inspecting that bridge every year, which is being paid for by 80% of DOT funds. The county only has to pay 20% of that. So we're maximizing our tax dollars and utilizing the DOT as much as we possibly can. But like we're the #1 county in the state of South Dakota
that has
with
the most
bridges and culverts. I mean, we've solved the laundry list that was out there. You know, if the people want to make the roads and bridges an emphasis, if they want to bring forward the road and bridge levy again, we'd be more willing to talk about it. Because if you do a toll road, you're focusing on one bridge, one road. 84 bridges in Yankton County, thousands of culverts.
278 miles of asphalt.
Yeah, we went crazy in the 70s and put in all this asphalt. Now we're paying for it.
Patty, I can understand your frustration because you use that bridge daily. Don lives at the lake, Todd lives at the lake, Deb lives at the lake, and Ray uses it. I use it a little bit, but we don't use it near as much as you do and a lot of other people.
Patty, do you live on the east side?
I live just west of town, but our son lives.
Your son, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But you go
and he and his wife both drive on that twice a day, every day. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comment in regards to this?
Robert Fring, 44877 305th Street. I'm 71 years old, and I was brought home from the hospital on Highway 50, on the old bridge, before they put in this fancy new one that now it's gone bad. And I want to say that when I was in high school, was probably the last time they rebuilt 50. Gary should remember, I think that would be about the time when they redid it, didn't they?
61 or something.
61, okay, high school, yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And that should have been rebuilt again within 20 to 25 years. 61, 71, 81, mid-80s, nothing. Mid-90s, nothing. 2000, nothing. 2015, nothing. 2018, nothing. The only reason that you can even travel on it is because it had a good base. It was a heavily built road. The traffic that comes on that road is probably, I don't know, I think the count was 1,800 when they were looking at 301 and 303, which was 80.
Way higher.
Yeah.
Was it over than 1,800?
Yeah.
Okay. So I would think that should have been a priority for the last 40 years. So finally, somebody is doing something and talking something about it. So it's darn good time that we're getting something done on it. There's been more thought putting into our roads in the last 4 years than there has been in the previous 40 years from what I can see. So I think you've got a good point, Gary. It needs to be getting done. And there's a pretty good group that have been doing something. 303, 301, almost from the start, they've been breaking up. So what have we been doing for 30 years? Just patching, 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 so it's the same hole. And now they're dug up, put a good base in it, so there's something solid there. And they're a lot better than, I can remember driving those roads before they were oil roads. I went to school on the Vollen Road, 305. It was gravel. 448 was gravel when I was riding the school bus. Then we got, and 448 was put in, was done quite well. It's held up very well. 305 isn't too bad, but some of the other roads are getting weaker because as we went, we cheapened them up, didn't get as good a base underneath them. And now we have gone back, tearing them up. When they did it by me, they hauled all of the asphalt off. They ground it up and hauled it off. And I thought, I sat there and watched it. It goes right by my driveway. And I thought, God, why are they doing that? And it's been put in places, and it makes a good, where they had to get rid of it. Okay, now we're using that. That machine comes down, works it out. They put gravel on top of it. They end up with a base that's close to a foot or more instead of that 4 inches. And now, when we were kids, I mean, it was a pickup with a 100-bushel wagon behind it, or it was an H or an M. I was John Deere, but you were an International, but that's what we used to haul. Well, now we've got semis that weigh 90 to 100,000 pounds, 96,000, I think, if you got enough axles onto them. Well, the base isn't doing it.
Can I interject just for a second?
Mm-hmm.
And when you talked about the road going, it was a good base. I lived on the Washtown Road since 1950. My grandpa bought it way long before that.
Mm-hmm.
I watched the Washtown Road 444 being paved.
Mm-hmm.
And questions to my dad over the years he was alive, how come that Washtown Road holds up and the rest of them fall apart? Dad said, that base was never disturbed. All they did was bring in a little on the sides and paved it. Now that's why it's so narrow. But all the truck traffic on that, it's held up miraculously because it was never disturbed. It was packed and packed and packed.
Okay, because my cousins and aunt and uncle lived just south of where you did. And I can remember driving down the ditch when they were building. Because when we visited them, we went up to 303. We came across, we drove down the ditch across that. And then they put that bridge in with the big box culvert, and it was made so the livestock could go across. And that was packed down and worked real good, because I can remember we drove on the road ditch because you couldn't on it, but we went down the road ditch getting in there. And they put a good base on that. There's a heck of a good base. That's why that's held. And that's why, other than where the slough was down by Frings, that was a bad spot there, and then that was finally fixed too. So that has a good base. It was made for big semis, so that's why it was good. And that's what we're getting back to now. The ones that need it, we're actually getting something done finally now after 40 years. So I tip my hat to this group here that in the last 4 years has gotten a lot done and made some good progress, and keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
I think the road and bridge, we've utilized more than the 10 minutes. Are you satisfied, Commissioner?
Yeah, yeah. Either. Did everybody get a copy
Next.
of this statement I had? I got more copies here.
Next item on the agenda, right before the public comment, is just Debbie has some building maintenance quick you wanted to
Yeah,
touch on?
just mention that we got a major, one of the 2 boilers in this building has to have some major repair, but be caught at time and it's going to be done. So that's very prudent to take care of it before it gets to the winter.
Okay,
And that's it.
all right. At this time is the public comment portion of the commission meeting. We have one individual that's signed up. Johanna? Jonna? Sorry about that. Meadows. Remember, commissioners, the public comments portion is comment. There's no debate. If the item that's discussed or brought to our attention needs to warrant a future commission meeting agenda item, we'll discuss that and put it on a future meeting. You have the podium.
Okay. My name is Jonna Meadows. I live out off of Deer Boulevard. The road that's concerning to me is, it used to be Gary, but now it's Alphonse. The road is getting pretty, excuse the terminology, shitty. It needs some serious attention before we get any more snow. Because once we get more snow, more water, and all the potholes, it's going to be nothing but a skating rink. I live in that mobile home park that's off of it. And I hate to say it, it's tearing up my vehicles. I would like the commissioner to address it as soon as possible. And I'm sure there's other people in the mobile home park / the campgrounds and possibly even the hops farm out there that would probably agree with me that the county needs to deal with that road. And yes, I do know before it became a county problem that the base is not good. So we have an issue of the base. And I do know that this year there's been a lot of semi-traffic on it, a lot more than normal because of putting in that one campground. But myself as a county payer, I do pay taxes on my house. I feel like it needs to be addressed and repaired before we get more snow and it becomes a skating rink and a hazard to even the kids that live out there. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
No, I would, Alphonse Road is actually a private road.
I was told it became a county problem.
I would, we'll reach out to this highway department to get some clarity. Will you leave your phone number with the auditor's office or call the auditor's office tomorrow with your contact information so we can have the highway department get back to you?
Okay.
Okay.
I can leave it with you tonight.
Okay. I didn't know if you wanted to broadcast your phone number to the public and the audio and everything. I figured if you want to be more private, you sure can, but.
I can leave it with you guys tonight before I leave.
Thank you. Items for next meeting agenda. If,
I'd like to just next have a short discussion on the issue that we talked about adding HR person.
Okay. I would assume the November 8th agenda is probably going to be pretty full, but we'll put that on there. Short.
It'll be the ambulance wage, the section line, if the individual can make it.
I think we also have Board of Adjustment that day as well, so it's going to be a full agenda. If there's anything else for the agenda, let myself or Patty know. I will be in contact with you, Ms. Meadows. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
A motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned.